Let's talk about MSF. Let's talk about all of us. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things Copley does. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Like and subscribe.
What's going on, everybody? It is time for another episode of Let's Talk About It, featuring none other than the phenomenal Boilon. Boilon, thank you so much for being here. How you doing, buddy?
No problem. I'm having a great weekend. I hope you are too.
I am. It's got some change going on, so all up in my emotions as far as the game goes. But we're working through it, and got some new things lined up, and so anywho, glad to have you here. So just wanted to get to know a little bit about you with this part of the show and the discussion. So you've been you've been a part of the community for a long time now. You've been making videos. You've done on and off with Twitch, but heavy into YouTube presence. And what got you into making videos for Marvel Strike Force?
I think just my love for the game and for playing for so long. I basically started maybe a couple of months after launch, or it was May. For me, it was May 2018. So I think the game may have come out in March. I don't remember. I wasn't part of the beta, but it was not long after, and I picked it up on holiday actually, and that's why my arena payout is such a bad time, because I'm on European Standard Time for my arena payout. So for me, it's like 9 in the morning, and I don't wake up that early, so I don't get a chance to do that. But anyhow, I picked up the game and I just fell in love with it, and I played it for so long, and then I guess when COVID hit, that's when I started to do videos. So my very first video was actually when Ebony Maw got released. That was my very first video. Was an Ebony Maw showcase. So
nice,
and it
nice.
just went on from there, I guess.
Is Marvel Strike Force, is that the first game that you've ever made content for?
Yes,
I know
yes.
So you've got a degree you've talked about that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I have multiple actually, but yeah, I am not using it. So we've kind of come a weird 180 degree from my professional life, or my past professional life, and to this. COVID kind of wrecked a lot of things in my life plans, and then I just decided to get onto YouTube. Wet my feet a little bit back in 2020, and then it was a little bit of a hobby, I guess, and I kept going on with it, and people seemed to enjoy it. It was slow, like a lot of people who start up. It takes a while to kind of get going, because people need to you don't just go straight to being known, I guess. You have to go through the motions a little bit when it comes to whether it's Twitch or YouTube. It takes a little bit of time, but I stuck with it, and I was consistent, and so I think that was the best part.
So the one common denominator that I hear from content creators from a YouTube perspective in particular is you sort of grind real hard, and then it's almost like all of a sudden there's one video that sort of pushes you over the top. For you, do you remember what that video was?
I'm not sure if that was ever the case for me. I think that I was just really consistent in posting every single day or two, and at some point, it could have been a mobile gamer shout out at some point as well. I mean, who knows? I don't think there was one specific video though that really skyrocketed though. I think it was just the consistency, because I was covering things like I was releasing videos on at least every day or every other day, and I was doing it consistently for 2 years, until I am where I am now. And I guess it's 2.5 years. It's been a while, but it's almost 3 years coming up actually. May will be my 3 years on YouTube. And it's just the consistency, really, I think. And then eventually, at some point, people either the word Boilon or the name Boilon just started circulating through the community at some point. Yeah. And then it just got pushed a little bit further, I guess.
Yeah, well, so that's actually a really good point of reference as far as how to be successful in content creation in general. If you are wanting to, there are absolutely people out there that just happen to hit on the YouTube algorithm at the exact right moment, and they just randomly blow up off of a couple videos. But for the most part, if you want it to pay like a job, you got to treat it like a job, right? Like, you've got to put in the time, you got to be consistent, you got to sort of go through the motions just like you would anything else.
Yeah, I mean, so it obviously took time. I guess from a job perspective or a monetary perspective, it took a long time to get to where I am now, right? It wasn't until
Yeah.
more recently where I could consider it a job for me.
Yeah.
But definitely wasn't that way of the first 2 years, and so really it was just that key of being consistent, releasing videos on a regular basis, enough that, my followers could expect, a video to come out and that they
Yeah.
know that there's going to be one every day or two, and so that they can watch that because, the people who stick around are the ones who know that content's coming out. If you're irregular and you post maybe once a week or every 10 days, they don't know whether or not, something's going to come out on your channel or not, so they may or may not stick around. So I think a lot of the people who watch me do stick around because they know something's going to come out from
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you do a wonderful job with your videos. I feel like where a lot of content creators or potential content creators go wrong is one thing that you've got that you do exceptionally well, and you speak with a lot of confidence. And you've been wrong before, and you've made videos saying, "Whoops, screwed up on this." FYI, but you always have to speak with that confidence, because if you don't speak with the confidence, people aren't going to stay tuned in. They're gonna be like, "Ah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not sure, whatever." But that just that vocal prowess is extraordinarily important to being successful, and you've got it in loads, and you do a really, really good job. And so enough of the compliments, though. What do you do for fun, man? I know you like to go on vacation a lot, but
Yeah.
what do you have any particular hobbies that you just really love?
Less, I mean, honestly, since COVID, I think a lot of things in my life has changed. I used to travel a lot. And
Yeah.
because pre-COVID, I didn't own a dog either, and so now I'm a dog parent, and it's a little bit tougher to, just suddenly drop off and go on holidays.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that actually since COVID. So I'm hopefully will be going to Europe in May, and that's going to be my first holiday in 2.5 years, or since before COVID. So I'm looking forward to that. But I just play a lot of other non-Marvel Strike Force video games in my house. I guess that's my other video games is a hobby. That's my passion. And so I do play other games, and actually that's probably attributed since Christmas why I've maybe not released every single day videos like I used to, because I'm playing these other games and I'm like, oh, I'm forgetting to put out a video every single day now, and it's normally there, but sometimes I'm like I'm too engrossed into something else that I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should get back onto YouTube again. So I've taken a slight break, but I've been sick as well, so
Yeah.
that's part of it. But yeah, no, I don't have any like gaming is my life, kind of. It's always been kind of my life, I don't
Yeah.
have any crazy hobbies other than traveling and gaming.
Well, no.
Not
So I mean,
super exciting.
traveling
Yes.
is a super expensive hobby, and B is that it's a lot of time, right? I mean, like
Mhm.
if that's what you're gonna do for your downtime, you got to be prepared to put it out. Now, as far as Loki goes. So that's the pup,
Yeah.
of course. We share a common doggy name. I've got my Loki, you've got yours. Are mom and dad okay watching Loki? Because I'm assuming they're who are going to get him.
That's what's happening in May for holiday. But
Yeah.
I've never really left him with them for like any length of time. So like I'm hoping that I don't come back and like my dog's gone or something, and the dog was lost. So I've never really had to do that. So when they come and visit, though, I try to like get them to like take him for walks, just to make them more comfortable with like being around him more. So that when I do have to leave him, that they'll survive. Everyone survives. So that's my hope.
I gotta say, I'm less concerned with Loki and more concerned with your parrots, because it sounds like he's a big fan of sofas. So
Yeah, well, I mean, we used to own a dog when I was young, when I was like that 25 years ago. We used to have a family dog, but then after she passed away, we never really picked up another family dog after that. It was just kind of that irreplaceable kind of moment until I picked up a dog recently.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. As far as so get to know a little bit about where you come from, get to know a little bit about you and your personal life, and then sort of sliding over to the game. So Marvel Strike Force, it's got a lot of peaks and a lot of valleys. There's some great things about it, and there's some not so great things about it. And it's a constant work in progress from for the community, for the content creators, and for the devs. As far as current state of the game of Marvel Strike Force, what's your view of the state of the game of Marvel Strike Force?
So I wasn't a big fan when they introduced the month-long events, which is ironic because I do events. I do event videos. So for me, I guess it's become really positive for my channel. That being said, I do constantly, have people tell me that, they've become more and more convoluted over the months, especially it probably peaked around like August, September of last year, maybe, where it started getting like, we would have multiple web milestones and then the in-game milestones, and we'd have 3 or 4 events running at any given time. And then I had to do the math on all that because they all just fed into the one event, right? And so that got to be a bit much, even for me. Like, it was kind of annoying to have to do, to be honest. And but still great for my channel. I kind of like where the events are now for February. I say that because I just put out a video saying how trash this Monday event is. If you haven't seen that yet, then go click on that. But there are occasional missteps where they just miss the mark on what's. I'm going to use the word moderate engagement because that's what they said they're trying to push towards.
Yeah.
If we can get back to something that is actually, low to moderate engagement to clear events, then I'm okay with that. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more later about when it comes to character releases, because things have been a bit iffy. Rebirth wasn't super great. And I hope that, maybe we can get to a point where things isn't super stressful. It shouldn't be a stressful experience, right? It should be a game that we play for fun, which we do. But we shouldn't be stressing out on the side about all these events. And I think that's where we're at right now. For those of us who engage with the game on a above average basis, I guess, those of us who care about the game.
Yeah. So as far as overall Marvel Strike Force, do you love it any more or less than you did when you started playing it on holiday in Europe?
Yeah, I actually think I preferred it when it was more theory crafting, which was, I guess, before everything was just all about the team synergy.
Yeah.
And there was a point, maybe it was not even the Defenders, if you remember the original Defenders rework when they did that, like that was really cool. And I think that was the start of the sort of the team synergy stuff, but it wasn't that bad then. It was kind of more like maybe a year on from that when everything was all about the teams and that's it. And there wasn't really a lot of sort of movable pieces or characters, into teams and out of teams. We're not seeing a lot of that still, except for with the occasion of maybe the upcoming Quicksilver and a couple of previous characters, Kestrel and stuff, where you could drag and drop into teams. But there's not enough of that, in my opinion. So I feel from the theory crafting position, we're not in as good of a position. You'd have to talk to other veterans, I guess, who say like, what's the peak of Marvel Strike Force? A lot of people probably tell you it's by 2020.
Yeah, So I think of the theory crafting, and I think the first team that I'm aware of that theory crafting went out the window with was Axemen, and they were it was an extremely well received team because the mutant lane at the time was just a nightmare. I don't remember which one exactly it was. But when they came in, and it just made it super easy. But the ability to plug and play with the Axemen, astonishing X-Men, for those that don't know who what Axemen are, like you take somebody out of that team and it just doesn't work the same. I mean, in raids specifically, like they're designed to be together, and if you're missing a member, good luck. It's gonna be more difficult. But that was the first time that really sort of ever took place that I can remember. But again, ironically, it was super well received. Like that was a really well received. I mean, aside from Iceman being launched and him not being good and them having to rework him 3 weeks after he was released. Well, not rework, but they just boosted his stats, and he still wasn't great. Anyway, so I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the conversation. Let's hop on over to our panel. We got this super slick transition now. Boop. Be sure to like and subscribe. Best transition ever. All right, welcome back, everybody. Joining us this week on Let's Talk About It, we've got a super eclectic panel, sort of all over the place. Of course, joining us from our interview segment is none other than Boilon, still here. Also joining us today is StormTeam, coming over from the completely free to play aspect of it all. We've got DrDee, who is, I believe she fashions herself as Alliance leader, whale aficionado. I personally am not a big fan of calling a lady a whale, but it was in your own description, so I'm just going to go with it. And of course, the somewhat infamous Batwok now. Batwok has made a heck of a name for himself, and basically finishing first in all of the auction events, and also being one of the top players TCP wise in the game, and an active member of the community. You know, a lot of the super krakens in the game don't really spend a lot of time in streams and on YouTube and stuff like that, and I was very happy. It was very kind of Batwok to join us today, and obviously, again, a wonderful member of our community, active member of our community. So thank you all for being here. How's everybody doing? How you doing, DrDee?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. StormTeam, how are you, buddy?
Thanks for having me. I'm good so far.
glad you're here, man. And Batwok, I salute you, sir. Hello.
Always a pleasure to be here, my friend.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's get into it. I feel like I just stole somebody's line. The topic of the day, conversation that I really wanted to have, was sort of a two-part conversation, and I try to keep every communication that I put out into the community, whether it's on stream or YouTube or whatever, and keep it very positive and pretty light. That's sort of where I pride myself. But this could be a little bit of a difficult conversation. So we're going to start with what I think will be the most difficult part, and that is events. So the milestone events that we have to go through, the monthly events, the events that have these quote unquote auctions in them for some really spectacular rewards, at least at the very, very top end, that don't necessarily get spread out extraordinarily well as it slides down. I sort of want to talk about those. And Boilon, we'll start with you here, because obviously you put out a ton of videos about these events. Not a lot of them have been super well received in the last few months. I feel like, in particular, the monthly events, if you looked, let's say, just pre-summer, like April, May, when we first sort of started getting those monthly events, they were stupidly blitz heavy, which made a lot of people uncomfortable and unhappy. But they did take away the vast majority of that, which I feel made the month-long events at least more palatable. But from a release method to sort of how they go through, and again the rest of them. So we'll talk about release methods here a little bit later.
Oh, sorry. Was there a question? No, about the events in general?
Yeah. How do you feel about the event? Sorry, that was a horrible transition.
I think the most painful. Yeah, I didn't see a question in there necessarily, but I think the most painful events that we've had are ones that are blitz heavy, for sure, hands down. Yeah. Because people don't want to log in 4, 6, 8 times a day or whatever it is to get through the events. And I think that, just thinking of the events in general and which ones I hate, it tends to be the ones that are blitz heavy. Yeah. The ones that require raid attacks, war attacks, whatever, is not that bad. But what they took away from in the blitz events was if you remember, they used to have these ones where it's like blitz with gear tier 13, 15, 14, whatever, of a team, and you get bonus points for that. That wasn't too bad, because often with those ones that you'd get the bonus point, for those of us who can do it, would get the bonus points, and that would alleviate the amount of blitz rotations that you had to do. And that was okay-ish, because it made it better, but now they got rid of that, and now it's just a crap fest in my opinion, because it doesn't matter like how many everyone's on the same page, which maybe is good, but the amount of wins that you need to do for some of these events are really high. The one again upcoming on Monday tomorrow is not very good, so that's a good example.
Yeah. And DrDee, what about you? How are these events affecting you and you and your alliance?
I would say that for the most part, most folks like the month-long events. Her alliance is actually probably somewhat strange in that it's not all whales.
Yeah.
It's probably maybe a third whales, and the rest are maybe free to play or cheap to play. So it really is dependent on in-game activity and being able to do in-game activity to progress through the milestones. So, the events that were, look for raid and war activity, I think fare better than those that require 8 rotations of blitz per day, like the one that's coming up on Monday, because most all of us, I would say, in our alliance are, have daytime jobs, and doing,
Yeah.
timers for your 8 rotations per day are is tough. So
Yeah. StormTeam, how you holding up with these events?
I haven't really struggled with the events. The only one I had trouble with was Hulkbuster and Deathlock. I didn't unlock them. But the rest of them, I haven't struggled with them. They've just been, I log in, I do my event, I do my chores, and I hope to unlock it. That's all I can expect to do, is just unlock it.
Yeah. You're just more focused on going in, playing the game, and getting whatever you get. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Right.
Okay. So that's a super healthy way to look at it. That's a super healthy way to look at it. Batwok, what about you? How are you? How are these events affecting you?
My wallet feels a little lighter. For the most part, I don't like any events that's not free to play friendly. To be absolutely honest, from someone who's a Kraken, I mean that's something that you probably don't hear very often. But at the end of the day, if they're going to release an event that has 40 milestones, everyone in the game should have a free to play route to get to milestone 40 and not settle on milestone 32 or 33 or whatever it happens to be. And that's just stuff like that just drives me crazy. It's supposed to be a fun and engaging milestone or event or game, and basically gatekeeping the final handful of milestones. Let's be honest, those are usually the milestones everybody wants. It's the T4 materials or the teal gear, and making it so that only those who spend money can attain those. I think it's poor event creation on behalf of the developers. And yes, I finish all of my milestones, in every event, but I would say that maybe a very small percentage of the community, finishes, every milestone in every single event, and that's just it doesn't seem like a fun experience for your consumer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was the how I've always viewed being a spender in a game is you get the toy earlier. You don't necessarily get it solely. Like so the idea that some people don't have a path to get the toy, I just can't wrap my head around.
Absolutely.
Sort of sticking with the events, and we're gonna want to start with you on this one, Batwalk, because in particular, I know this affected you pretty dramatically. These alliance events that are in basically the entire alliance has to go sort of all in, go heavy on. It feels like a lot of these alliance events are almost being created to make people choose what they want to be as far as a player goes. So like if you're going to be a super kraken, you got to be with nothing but super krakens, and if you're going to be a free to play hoarder, you got to be with nothing but free to play hoarders. And so otherwise you end up hurting your alliance if you can't fit into one of these boxes. Because it's not fair for one person to open 1,000 orbs and one person to open 6. You know, how do these events make you feel playing those events, and does it change how you view the game to an extent?
Was absolutely heartbreaking. I had been with the Imperial Guard Alliance. I'll name drop them here for quite some time. A few years. They took me in, took a coworker in, or early on, and it. I always felt like I did not want the game to dictate where I needed to be. That I can choose where I want it to be. And, it's like if I wanted to be a little extra competitive, then that's where, my money can come into play. I would, buy a few extra offers to kind of keep me, where I felt my account needed to be in comparison to where, the rest of my alliance was. But this monthly milestone event, alliance milestone event, that not only had a leaderboard for the alliance, but also had currency for the monthly leaderboard, was basically the developers telling me that unless you change alliances, you're going to miss out on not one, 2 potential leaderboards. Which is tough, for someone, a competitive person like I am, and I for the most part enjoy the competition that leaderboards bring. I'm not saying I enjoy leaderboards, just the competition aspect that comes with it. It was tough. And I'll name drop Reminex. Reminex, I was chatting with him, and eventually it came to the decision that in order for me to be able to be where I needed to be, I needed to change alliances to an alliance that could, that basically had the same goals as I did in regards to that milestone event. And the Onslaught, the alliance that that took me in, great group of people. They brought me in right off the bat, treated me like family. We didn't miss a step, and obviously we went on to do really well in a milestone event. But I fear that this is the norm. That next month there's going to be another one, and next month there's going to be another one, and at what do I decide to go back? Do I stay in an in-game alliance? It's just those kinds of things that makes it very difficult for a player like myself to do what I want to do, and basically being forced to do what the developers dictate I should do, and that's rough.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, completely agree. I won't say that was the end all be all of me changing alliances, but it definitely played an impact. I would be lying if I said it didn't. It was it didn't feel good. Didn't feel good. Like literally, I was on stream crying on Monday because of this decision. Granted, I'm a big baby and I cry about pretty much anything. So anywho, DrDee, how about you and your alliance? Like how is this style of event affecting you guys?
I would say, these types of events are very tough for leadership. Being the leader of an alliance, and when you have a mix of players who hoard, who don't hoard, who whale, who don't whale, I'm not going to dictate how people want to play the game. I want them to be able to play how they want. And we, for this latest event, we ended up at 59. And so it was kind of heartbreaking that we were 59 on the leaderboard for this latest Gold Orb event. And so it was I am not really fond of these current kind of, if you hoard, or if you're whaling, you get further, and there's and rewards in that. I would say that that's probably my biggest complaint. And it definitely puts some stress on the leadership in terms of what your plans.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Storm Team, what about you? From the free to play perspective, how do these types of alliance events affect you?
My alliance is really good about getting all the milestones done. We have a couple of people who push themselves to do better than the rest of us, but we always get the milestones done. And one person might do more than someone else. They might not, but in the end, we get them done, and it doesn't really bother us.
Yeah, so with your alliance, y'all are just looking. Can we get through the milestone itself? Like screw the leaderboard. Well, whatever we get from
Yeah.
that we get, but let's just get through the milestone and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people. They've got 23, 24 million collection powers, and it's enough.
Yeah.
And it's enough to do what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Boilon, so hearing what these folks have said, sort of basing on hearing that feedback and then your own opinion, and so sort of can you sum it up from your perspective, what you're looking, how this makes you feel, and quite frankly, hearing these guys and what they've gone through, how does that make you feel?
Well, I think there's two groups of people. I think there's the people who are playing quite casually, who go through the
Yeah.
milestones, they take what they can get and whatnot. And then there are the people who are trying to push harder, but obviously certain leaderboard events are a struggle. It really depends on all sorts of hoarding and whatnot, and whether or not you can accomplish that, and then
Yeah.
and spending, of course, right? Because there's always offers to push you up further. And so I guess I don't, because I'm a bit more casual, so I don't quite understand 100%, how people feel necessarily at the top. But I would imagine if you're aiming for a top 50 in your alliance and you're like 53, that probably doesn't feel very good, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that if you tried, maybe you spent too to get there, and you didn't get there, then it's going to feel rough, right? That you just missed the mark, and so that doesn't feel fun. For my alliance, for the Trial of Strength event, particularly, I targeted 3 to 10%, 2 to 10%. That kind of marked there because I wanted to get the blue 4 ions for my alliance, and so I specifically targeted that to make sure that we ended in that sort of range that I felt was going to get us that mark. And so I had that out in the outset, and that's just, we didn't open too much. I said, hey, don't bother. There's going to be another gold orb opening event, next week, I think it is now.
Yeah.
And to make sure that you don't go too hard on this, because you don't want to lose out on the other event too. So we're
no,
definitely on the more
absolutely.
casual side.
So the one thing that I guess I just can't really wrap my head around, and this is on the dev side. I don't understand why, and not really looking for feedback here, but just more of an observation. I just feel like with these events, they just don't spread the rewards out effectively. Like that there's a hard cutoff at a specific number. I just can't wrap my head around that. Like if you look at this most recent one, if you're top 5, great, 6 sucks. If you're top 50, great, 51 sucks. Like that there's nothing sort of that it's not like slow phased out these rewards, that it's just that's it and moving forward. And I really wish they would take that into consideration when they're building these events, because that feels bad, that those players that are at the edge of that bubble that lose, boy, is that got to be a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
So sort of moving along, obviously the events, it's all about perspective as far as, I think that's what I'm sort of getting from this conversation. Perspective is sort of key to how you feel about them, and the game in general, but, character releases. So I want to talk about that just a little bit. With the character release methods, used to be, it was rare to see a $50 character release. Like it was 19 and 29 and 35, and like 50 was sort of that top end character release. And now it's like 75 is the low end and 100 is the top end for if you're a buyer. And then when you do go to do the unlock through the events, I mean, some of these events have been super sketchy if you're even able to unlock through extreme grinding. So we'll start with StormTeam. So from the free to play aspect, how have you thought about those character unlocks? And you mentioned there was two, Deathlock and Hulkbuster. I believe you said that you weren't able to unlock initially. As opposed to in the past, I'm guessing you probably didn't have trouble getting that at least initial unlock out there.
I've never had trouble unlocking a character. What really bothers me is that I can't get them to a star level that where I can compete with them at my level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what bothers me more than the actual character releases, is that I can't get them during their events. I can't get them high enough for them to be useful.
Yeah, no. So talking about that, I feel like they tried to set a precedent with Silver Surfer, because Silver Surfer was like a big meta jump, right? And it was we got a 3-star unlock with no reds that we could actually use, and so nobody complained because it was actually a good character at 3 stars, and you just sort of went through the motions and went along, didn't really say anything. But now they're sort of shoving 3-star characters in our face, but with the meta jump, they're not useful. Like, and it's difficult to get that higher unlock. And I agree. I think that's a great point. DrDee, what about you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have a lot of characters that I haven't built or very little investment in because they're just not useful at 3 stars. I need them 4 or 5, and that's something I can't get without spending money.
Yeah, what about you, DrDee? How you feeling about these unlocks?
Yeah, so just as a little bit of backstory, so my husband and I play Marvel Strike Force together, and so we have double the amount or triple the amount of offers that are, say, purchased or for characters. And I typically try to stay to 1, and he sometimes buys 1 or 2. But what I'm finding right now is, even if I were to buy, a character offer, which used to be 25 or 50, and now it's 50 and 100. I'm still only getting, even by doing the milestones and that, I'm still only getting a character to 4 or 5 stars. And I find it's impacts definitely in CC. If I'm competing with someone that has ones that are 6 and 7 star versus me and my 4 or 5 star. So, and for me, I also have a baby account that I do in a casual alliance, and I've definitely had times where I have not unlocked the character the first round. And because that's a free to play account that I do, just casually. And Deathlock was one of the ones that I did not unlock, first time around, and so it made it tough for raiding. And so the change in the way that the characters are being released has definitely impacted the way that I'm spending my free-to-play account and that.
Yeah, Batwok. So as so you've got a healthy roster. Taking those characters to 7-star day 1 or 2 or something along those lines, is that the goal? Like, are you trying to get it like maxed out as soon as you get it? Because I ask because it's not necessarily how I play. I think this answer might surprise some folks.
There are a lot of better players at Marvel Strike Force than I am. Like I see some Dorky when he's doing his videos and he's like, name dropping speed. Oh, this character's speed is 132 versus this one is at 128 and has high accuracy and all this information. I'm like, whoa. So I often rely having the bigger stick.
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to. So, getting a character as high as I can, as early as I can, gives me a slight advantage early on until kind of the rest of the world catches up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the reason why I try to get them as high as possible, as soon as possible. Going back into the character release methods, unfortunately for me, by the time the official character release methods come out, I already have a character maxed out.
Yeah.
So I often don't really pay attention on how is this character going to be released, 2-3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
The one thing I do have to say though, is financially, I do feel that I have spent less on character unlocks because of the offers that they have been putting out.
Really?
The two $100 offers, the two $50 offers.
Yeah.
I can usually get the character up to 6-star, maybe 6.5 stars, just with that. And then maybe I'll spend $100 worth of power cores to get the rest. Before, when the offers were at, $25-$50, I'd be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars in power cores, just sitting there coring, trying to get the drops. And I mean, if I was lucky with the 180 drop, that's, obviously less spent, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, those don't hit very often. So it's, I just find that the amount of money being spent to max out a character with the current offers, at least for me, has been slightly less than before. I still hate those offers. Don't get me wrong. I hate spending, more than $20 on any given offer in the game. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of how they're getting us, right?
No, that's actually super interesting. I never realized that it was substantially less, but I also I guess that's the difference between like somebody at my level and somebody at yours. Like I wouldn't core characters. Like I would get what I got from those initial offers, and then I would use the event to get the character up to 7-star. And it's worked for me for essentially every character release that's come out since I've been doing this. So that's a really interesting perspective that you're actually doing a lot less from a coring standpoint. Boilon, what about you? How are these character release impacting you? Because didn't you used to buy character release packs, right?
It's been a long time. I think I'm just trying to look at my own data. The last time I bought a character would have been, and this was actually only because I had a donation on stream actually, was Echo last year, which was February 2022. So that's the last time I ever bought a character. That I won't say it's the only time I haven't spent, but I spent very little in 2022. Maybe after that point, $50 Canadian max. So I don't spend very often. But that was the last. Even before Echo, I didn't really spend that frequently. I did do Kestrel, and I'm looking at all the characters, and I don't know how many I actually bought between Kestrel and Echo. So typically I don't buy though, because I use a core system. Is I save up my cores every month, and I kind of target a character that I think is going to be good, or we're going to need them for some reason, and I buy those 675 cores, and that kind of gets me those free unlocks, once a month or something.
Yeah. So as far as the release methods for these characters, how do they make you feel?
Not very good, especially as of lately. And one thing that we have seen very well is that we seem to be capping out lately almost 3-star, like 100 shards. That's pretty common, like the 100 shards. And even for that, some of those are difficult. So a lot of people took issue with the Agent Venom event. I did not get 100 shards on Agent Venom. I got 80. So I didn't get that last milestone or whatever it was for 20 shards. The only reason why I unlocked him is because previously for Raid of Fortunes a couple weeks ago, I opened the 675 core orbs for Agent Venom, and so that gave me the shards that I needed to get him. So I did get Agent Venom to 4-star, but that's because of my previous orb opening.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have unlocked him. And actually, a few people in my alliance didn't unlock him either. So
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most egregious requirements for a character unlock event. I think all characters should be unlockable through low to, I don't even want to say moderate engagement, low engagement that to unlock a character.
Yeah.
And what that means to me is maybe they need to lower the unlock to 2-star to 45 shards. We haven't seen a 45 shard character. It's very rare. Like none this patch. I don't know if there was last patch. I don't remember if Nemesis was, even though he was a campaign event character. I'd have to go back and check my baby account. And then Nakia before that. So if there is a 45 shard character, it's typically the event campaign.
Yeah.
But we've seen that that's gone now. We're not getting an event campaign this patch, so I'm concerned going forward what that's going to look like for just unlocking. It shouldn't be difficult to just get a character unlocked. It should be all the stuff afterwards if you want more stars or whatever, but we're seeing a decline in that as well. You know, it was pretty normal to be able to like grind out a free-to-play 4-star, but now that is increasingly almost impossible in a lot of cases to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so the events and the events and the character release have you know, some sour notes attached to them. And overall though, with the game, start down with StormTeam. Are you happy you played? Like, if you could do it all over again, would you? Or would you put your time somewhere else?
I would put my time somewhere else. When I started playing, I have stuff that I have when I started playing that I wouldn't get again.
Yeah.
Just because of the random. There's stuff that I wouldn't get that I wouldn't be able to live without.
Yeah.
So no, I would play something else.
Okay. DrDee?
I actually like playing. It's something that my husband and I do together. We're a little bit on the competitive side, and seeing as we're in the same alliance, we still are competitive, even though the state of the game has some issues. So
Hold on,
yeah,
just sorry to pause you real quick. Have you ever threatened to kick him out? Because you're the leader, right?
I am the leader, and sometimes he gets Discord banded, so he can't actually chat in Discord because I don't want him to cause any trouble in the alliance. So yes, so sometimes there's some filter there, but no, I have not threatened to kick him. On occasion. But yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, he and I like playing together, and like I said, we're competitive, and we have a good group of players that we play with in our alliance that we've been playing with for quite some time now.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the community aspect of it. I chat with these folks every day, and yeah, so I like playing. I just wish Scopely did make our lives a little bit easier when it came to having an alliance. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Batwok, what about you?
I'm a fan of friendships and relationships. I wouldn't give up the friendships and that I've made because of this game for anything. Because some of these some of the people that I've met here are just really nice and cool, down to earth people. I enjoy playing the game sometimes, most of the times, but if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would pick up, Marvel Strike Force. The game itself, it's fun, but there are probably a lot better things that I could have spent the last 3 years, time, money, effort, mental health, you name it, on. Obviously, I'll keep playing, but there isn't a day that goes by where I don't have the thought of, do I want to keep playing this game? Is today the day that I basically say that I'm quitting the game? And then I tell myself, I already gone this far for Apocalypse. Let me at least unlock Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And then once Apocalypse hits, I'm like, oh man, there's this other character. Well, let me wait for Quicksilver. I really like Quicksilver. And then Quicksilver shows up. Oh man, let me really wait for Nightcrawler or Professor X or some fan favorite character that we've been waiting years for.
Yeah.
And it's tough, and part of it for a lot of people is borderline addiction.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but I mean it's what it is. But yeah, if I had to do it again, I probably would not have picked up this game.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like, I enjoy the people. I enjoy some of the gameplay aspects, and I'll probably continue playing at least until the immediate future.
Sounds like a plan. Boilon, love it or leave it.
Yeah. I mean, if it was when I picked up the game, yeah, I would do it again. Would I do it now though? No, but I think that Scopely really needs a better new player experience for one.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't bothered to do another. I've done like 2 baby accounts. I'm not doing a third one for like some time. It not only does it take a lot of work, but I just think that the new player experience isn't quite there. They've not really changed it enough in the last 2 years to really, I don't know, speed things up a little bit for newer players, because I feel at this point in the game, they're not offering enough for people at the start to really get you going. And I think that's part of the problem, is that the power leap in the game is just also, I mean, that's a separate topic.
Yeah.
But I've talked to some people in my Discord, who are newer players, and, there are complaints about how it just, the pacing, I guess, of how it is now is just not sufficient, I guess, for like where we're at in the game writ large. So yeah, good luck if you start now. Maybe you'll get to where we're at in 2 years or a year and a half, right? That's basically do you have a year and a half to put towards this game? That's basically the question. Will you get bored before then? Maybe.
Yeah. You need a year and a half or a condo. All right. All right. So that brings us to the end of the show. For just real quick, I wouldn't do anything different. And just from the standpoint of when I started, I'm somebody who I suffer from extreme anxiety, and I talk about that a lot. And I want to make mental health awareness as readily available and as common as possible to let people know that it's okay to not be okay. And would I do it starting today? Probably not. But based on when I started, I couldn't imagine. The only thing I probably would have done different is I probably would have started streaming much earlier, because this has really helped my mental health immensely. Don't get me wrong, I'm still crazy. But I'm less volatile probably. All right. So with that being said, remember that you are pretty, you are smart, you are special, and I love you all watching at home very, very much. And a big special shout out to Batwok, to Boilon, to DrDee, to StormTeam, to everybody that came on today. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for coming on. And remember to like and subscribe, bitches. Transition to close. Let's go.